Good evening, and thank you for listening to a special shortened episode of WrestlingConEsteef. This week, the world of professional wrestling and sports entertainment lost two titans of the industry. On Wednesday, we lost former NWA World Heavyweight Champion and hardcore legend Terry Funk. With a career spanning over 50 years and 3 retirements, Funk debuted in 1965 in his father, Dory Funk Sr.'s promotion called Western Great Sports out of Amarillo, Texas, and teamed with his brother Dory Funk Jr. frequently early in their careers. Both Terry and Dory were inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame in 2009, and Terry fought nearly every top star in the 70s and 80s, from the American Dream Dusty Rhodes to Jerry the King Lawler, Nature Boy Ric Flair, Harley Race, and others. And even those guys were all WWE Hall of Famers. He would then have a series of gruesome matches in Japan, culminating in the first true death match I ever saw versus Cactus Jack in the finals of the King of the Deathmatch tournament in 1995, which solidified his status as a hardcore legend. He would win the NWA World Heavyweight Championship once and the ECW World Heavyweight Championship twice, and that was on top of countless other titles during the regional territory days. One of my favorite moments of Terry Funk's actually came during the legendary Hell in a Cell match with Mankind versus The Undertaker, King of the Ring, 1998. After Mankind came crashing through the cage ceiling with a chair smashing his face on the way down, and after having fallen from the top of the cage through the announce table, Terry Funk's in the ring trying to help his friend Mankind, Mick Foley, actually catch his breath. So in order to buy him some time, he decided to improvise with The Undertaker, who was just kind of standing there. And he tells The Undertaker to chokeslam him to give him some time. And JR's commentary during this time was hilarious. And Terry Funk, he got chokeslammed out of his shoes, it looked like. And all I can do is just bust out laughing because I found it to be hilarious. But Terry Funk's unique brand of violence, entertainment, and longevity will certainly be missed. Funk was 79. But the real shocker came on Thursday. Triple H had tweeted that he received the call from WWE Hall of Famer Mike Rotundo, who famously played the character IRS, Irwin R. Shyster, and was informing him that WWE superstar Bray Wyatt had passed away. He was 36 years old and leaves behind a wife and 4 children. Bray Wyatt also came from a wrestling family. With the previously mentioned IRS, his uncle was 4 Horsemen member Barry Windham, for whom he is named after, and his brother, Bo Dallas, also a wrestler. Bray Wyatt debuted for Florida Championship Wrestling, which would be the precursor to NXT, in February of 2009, and he was teaming with his real-life brother, Bo Dallas, and Bray started using the name Alex Rotundo and then Duke Rotundo. Then in 2010, he became part of the real NXT with the new name Husky Harris, describing himself as having the body of a tank with a Ferrari engine. Later in 2010, he would get promoted to the main roster and join the group The Nexus. But in 2012, he would see his biggest breakthrough as he would re-debut as a backwoods cult-style leader, Bray Wyatt, with his friends Eric Rowan, the late Luke Harper, a.k.a. Brody Lee, real name John Huber, and eventually Braun Strowman would join the group as well. And it would be called the Wyatt family. Bray Wyatt was a feared villain who played mind games with his opponents and sowed chaos with his group wherever they went. After some time away, he re-debuted yet again as the Tortured Fiend character, a character that exhibited traits of multiple personality disorder who wrestled under an evil clown mask, more reminiscent of a killer clowns from outer space than a pro wrestler sports entertainer. Wrestling under a red light, he juxtaposed his insidious, dark, and evil side with a clean-cut, almost children's show-like image surrounded by puppets believed to be involved with elements of Bray's past characters in a popular segment called the Firefly Funhouse. He was truly a modern-day Jekyll and Hyde. I was there for 2 huge moments involving The Fiend. First at Hell in a Cell 2019 here in Sacramento at the Golden One Center. In 2019, it was the famous dark red light once again, and of course the notorious ending that followed. If you haven't seen the match, I highly recommend firing up Peacock so that you too can be pissed off at how it ended. Then I saw him again in what was to be his final appearance as The Fiend. It was at a very rainy WrestleMania 37 Night 2 back in 2021 in Tampa. I uploaded the video of his live entrance that night to my YouTube page at WrestlingConEsteef, and it was something that I'll never forget. With an implied to be possessed Alexa Bliss getting things started by coming out to the entranceway, and then the giant life-size Jack-in-the-Box with a massive crank arm, with Alexa pretty much using the entirety of the force that her little body could muster to turn that crank. It was pure magic. Then after his match at WrestleMania 37, he would take a lengthy hiatus, mainly to deal with personal issues that possibly included severe depression from the loss of his best friend and former colleague Luke Harper, the aforementioned Brody Lee. And Bray returned once again at Extreme Rules last year, teasing yet another psychologically vulnerable character, with Alexa Bliss involved again, and with his brother Bo Dallas under a mask, playing a character called Uncle Howdy. Unfortunately, his recent return did not result in the success we all imagined, having his one and only match during this run at the 2023 Royal Rumble versus LA Knight. And tragically, he was taken from us at only 36 years old. He would be a two-time WWE Universal Champion, a one-time WWE Champion, and a two-time Tag Team Champion. We will now do a 10-bell salute in celebration of Terry Funk's and Bray Wyatt's lives and careers. Thank you for listening to this special edition of WrestlingConEsteef. We'll be back next week with a regularly scheduled episode following AEW All In. Good night.
This is the WrestlingConEsteef podcast with your host, Esteef Urbano.
Yes, indeed. Welcome to WrestlingConEsteef, episode number 2. I'm your host, Esteef Urbano, and we are now live on all the major podcast providers, including Apple, Google, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and still working on Spotify. Also available at YouTube and WrestlingConEsteef.com. As the wrestling world turns, you're going to follow it with me, so like, follow, share, subscribe to everything happening in pro wrestling. And AEW All In is now in the rear view mirror. After setting a world wrestling attendance record of paid fans, 81,035 fans at Wembley Stadium, now AEW has to quickly shift gears from London to Chicago for the annual All Out pay-per-view. So they started with All In, now they're going All Out. And for fans who are not completely familiar with pro wrestling, the All In show back in 2018 was the genesis of All Elite Wrestling as a whole. And it was fitting that they would come back, bring back the name, as I covered this in the first episode of the podcast, that the All In name now is record-breaking in itself. Tony Khan has already announced a second, or I should say a third All In event, a second one in Wembley for 2024, on August 25th, 2024. And that one's going to be a big deal as well. They'll probably look to try to break their own record. All of this before WWE can ever try to get their paws within Wembley Stadium. But it was a great show. I thought it lacked a little bit of drama and any real surprises because, let's face it, AEW has accustomed us to expecting the unexpected, and I don't really feel that happened this time. There was very little, I would say, not just drama, but a lot of it was kind of predictable. You knew Adam Cole wasn't going to walk out of there with the World Championship, although I was happy to see them win the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championships, him and MJF. And I thought that was a nice little, wrinkle in their relationship right now. Now, the rest of the show still saw some great action. Hikaru Shida ended up, not retaining her belt. So Saraya is now the AEW Women's Champion, winning that in her hometown. So that was a big deal there. The Bucks not able to get that the second win over FTR in the third match of their trilogy. So FTR is still your tag team champions. And unfortunately, another incident overshadowed a lot of what was happening in the ring. So during the All-In 0 Hour pre-show, Jack Perry had a match with Hook for the FTW Championship. And even though Jack Perry lost the match, he took a spot where they were on top of the hood of the limo that he came riding into Wembley Stadium with. And him and Hook are fighting, and Hook, it looks like gives him a T-bone suplex right through the windshield. It looked brutal. Jack Perry's arms got cut up pretty bad. And unfortunately for Jack, he would not see victory that night. But on his way to the back, he looked into the camera apparently and said, real glass, go cry me a river. Apparently in response to being vetoed by CM Punk for even asking to use the glass in another event. So whatever happened there, there's conflicting stories about who started it, but apparently Jack Perry entered the go position from the outside, from where the arena is. CM Punk was there as he was preparing for his match with Samoa Joe, who he does defeat and keep his world championship. But apparently they got into a scuffle. Jack pushed him, CM Punk choked out Jack, and it's just an ugly situation. Reports are that they're both suspended and they're both going to miss All Out, and that's unfortunate for both. I don't know where Jack Perry would have slid into the card there, but CM Punk, obviously, that's his hometown in Chicago. It'll be a big deal not having him there, but this is also the second major incident during or after a pay-per-view event, as last year during All Out, the media scrum, he buried his co-workers, the Elite, Hangman Adam Page, Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, and then proceeded to get into a fight, backstage, and it was just ugly for months and months after that. Suspensions reigned. CM Punk took a sweet time returning. And oh yeah, CM Punk tore his pec muscle while in the match with Jon Moxley, and that's really what kept him out all that time. That issue I don't really think has been completely, resolved either. So even if these are not CM Punk's, fights that he starts, not his fault, he sure is getting himself involved in the worst possible way. So not what you want to see out of one of your biggest straws, like it or not. He is one of AEW's biggest straws. But that is going to lead us right back to Chicago, where this Sunday, the AEW presents All Out, live on pay-per-view from the United Center in Chicago. The following matches have already been signed, sealed, and delivered by Tony Khan. So we have Hobbs versus Miro in a one-on-one match. Darby Allin challenging Luchasaurus for the TNT Championship. Chris Statlander defending the TBS Championship against Ruby Soho. John Moxley, will face the winner of Orange Cassidy and Penta El Cero Miedo. Those two will square off this Wednesday on Dynamite for the AEW International Championship, and then the winner will face Moxley at All Out for the International Championship. And then you have Kenny Omega versus Konosuke Takeshita, which was also confirmed by Tony Khan there at the All-In media scrum after the event. But this card appears to be missing a main event. I don't see any world championships of any kind. No women's championship, no AEW men's world championship, no tag team championships. We've got the TNT and the TBS championship, and with all respect to them, they're great championships, and the international championship, but they're not the world championships. So they'll need to beef up this card just a little bit more. They don't want to show any type of post All-In hangover, because they're going to be in Chicago all week. Wednesday, they're going to be at the Now Center, formerly known as the Sears Center in Chicago, Hoffman Estates to be exact, that's where they held the first All-In pay-per-view back in 2018. And then they would hold Double or Nothing. Or actually, no, All Out again a year later. Double or Nothing would go to Las Vegas. And got those two confused for a second. But in any event, the Now Arena has held All Out, with the exception of the 2020 COVID year, every year. And now that event is shifting to the bigger United Center. And the Now Center will host the editions of Dynamite, Collision, Rampage. So All Out, it still has the potential to be something good, but like I said, they'll need to beef up this card. They'll need to really have a strong Dynamite episode this Wednesday. They'll need a really strong episode of a Rampage and Collision. They literally only have 1 week to build up a whole nother pay-per-view event. And Tony Khan has made it clear that he wants to do these yearly. He wants to have All Out the year or the week after All In and keep it around this same time. Now, also a factor going into that for him is he says that he wants to maintain the UK bank holiday, which as an American, I guess I'm a little ignorant of. But if it's anything like Labor Day, I don't blame him, for the calendar working out, in his favor there. So, but I'm sure the massive success of All In really should have them looking at possibly expanding to other international sites. They made it clear that, MJF made it clear that he wants AEW to go to Estadio Azteca in Mexico. That could break some records, but not to be, undersold, AEW All In did break the record for the world's largest paid attendance for a wrestling show at 81,035. They did mention that with all of the support staff, including concession workers, policemen, ushers, and the like and so forth, they had close to 90,000 people in the building there, and it looked great on TV. I thought the LED tunnel on the stage was absolutely badass, and it really enhanced the presentation of a lot of the entrances there. For the live performances, I wasn't really digging Swerve Strickland's rappers, but Jericho did start out with the classic Freddie Mercury "Hey-O" warm-up that he did at the Live Aid show at Wembley all those years ago. So that really got the crowd on his feet as he sang himself to the ring while his band played behind him. And they put on a great match with Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay did pick up the win in his home country, and good for him. Will Ospreay has been confirmed to appear on Impact Wrestling's Bound for Glory. And, good for him. Will Ospreay, he mentioned that his contract with New Japan Pro Wrestling is coming up within the next 6 months, and he will be the highest price free agent in the world. Everyone pretty much except WWE will want him, and I only say that because WWE's been a bit on a hiring freeze, it would seem, in terms of hiring free agents. They are literally only working with their own guys. So we'll have to see if they can make some moves there, but I don't think they're going to get Will Ospreay. I don't think they're really interested in him. I could be wrong, but stranger things have happened. But All In wasn't the only wrestling show happening on a very, very busy Sunday. We also had the NWA 75th anniversary show, which took place over 2 nights. We have both new NWA Women's and World's Champions. So Kenzie Page defeated Camille Brickhouse, ending her 813-day reign as NWA Women's Champion. So congratulations to her. And also EC3, the former Ethan Carter III, he defeated Tyrus in the NWA 75 main event in a Texas bull rope match, and he is now the NWA World Heavyweight Champion, his first time being a world champion. Same with Kenzie Page, so congrats to those two. NWA really started off hot when they relaunched shortly before COVID with NWA Power, and Nick Aldis was their world champion. I thought they had a pretty good thing, and unfortunately, once they relaunched, I did not give them the attention that I was giving them before. So it might be time, because I did not really like Tyrus as a champion. I didn't think he fit the mold of what a champion would have been. He doesn't strike me as credible, no matter how big he is. And, I hate to say that about, a wrestler like that, but the thing is, he never connected with me, and that's probably why I didn't watch much NWA recently. Maybe I'll give it another try now that EC3 is the champion. And also happening yesterday was Impact Wrestling Emergence. And that one had, let's see, they had some new tag team champions there. The Rascals defeating the Subculture. That's where they are. Yeah, Subculture, consisting of Mark Andrews and Flash Morgan Webster and Danny Luna, all formerly of NXT UK, and the Rascals being comprised of Trey Miguel and I forgot that gentleman's name. He was called Nash Carter in WWE, but I know that wasn't his name when he started, so I'll need to give that man his respect and make sure I know his name next time. And that shows you how much I watch Impact, because I have not seen much Impact either. I watch their big pay-per-views. I'll probably watch Bound for Glory when it airs. I did watch Slammiversary this year, or at least most of it. And, Impact's another one that deserves more of my eyeballs TV time. The problem is there are only so many hours in the week for wrestling. There's wrestling on every night of the week. Oh, the young man's name is Zachary Wentz, who teamed up with Trey Miguel. So I had to look that up here while I was still talking. It was bugging the crap out of me. And then we had Trinity, the former Naomi, defending the Impact Knockouts Championship against Deonna Purrazzo, retaining her championship. Those were the worthy matches of note, and there's a bunch more, but really it was all about All In yesterday. They really put themselves on the international map with such a large show, and they could have done a little bit better with just a little bit of surprise, but I thought it was just fine. Not all the matches hit me in a good way. I did enjoy the hell out of Stadium Stampede. Stadium Stampede was wild as expected, and because the first Stadium Stampede was so good, the second one was but this third one was kind of in between the two. It was the second best of the three so far, but it was a bloodbath. I love I love Trent's mom. I thought this was great. Trent's mom arriving in a brand new a white, European version of a minivan, a Mercedes there, and she she hands Trent a tray of cookies and he whacks somebody with them, and it was just the funniest thing ever. I don't know who he hit, but it was somebody he hit right next to him during the Stadium Stampede match. But I mean, they went everywhere. They were up in the skyboxes, they were up near the concessions, they were near the parking lots, they were near the production areas, they were fighting all over the ring, all over the stage, all over the aisle. It was carnage everywhere. It was just, now I have to say, one of the craziest things about that it's funny to even call it a match, but what Jon Moxley and Penta were in the ring, Jon Moxley went and got a pack of wooden skewers, like shish kebab skewers. Among all the weapons that were already out there, Jon Moxley has these skewers, okay? And next thing I know, I see Penta smashing the skewers into Jon Moxley's face. And then the skewers are all sticking out of his head. It truly is a grotesque sight, but it was fitting for Jon Moxley. Really, that should be the cover of his next book, if he writes another one, was that image right there of All In with his head, with the skewer sticking out of it, just covered in blood. That's more Moxley than anything else these days. But yeah, and then you have the return of Santana, him and Ortiz. Well, what's interesting is him and Ortiz didn't necessarily reunite. They were just on the same 5-man team. Santana came out looking like a totally new man. He came out in actual wrestling gear as opposed to New York street clothes, which is the vibe that Ortiz was still giving. So they still may not be all the way on the same side, but they sure as hell fought on the same side. So it'll be interesting to see what happens next with Santana and Ortiz. And that actually brings me to my next point. AEW really needs to keep the pedal to the metal here, because with All Out being on Sunday, they don't have any time to waste. Every single segment this week of TV on Dynamite, Rampage, and Collision, every single segment needs to mean something. Every single segment needs to advance the story. There should be absolutely no trash segments on any of the AEW shows this week. Now, in addition, WWE also has an event running opposite of All Out. They're running Payback this Saturday, live on Peacock from the PPG Paints Arena in Pittsburgh. And there's no sign of Roman Reigns on this event, but here is what their night's going to look like. The matches so far announced. First, you have Becky Lynch versus Trish Stratus in a steel cage, most likely to make up for them being left off the SummerSlam card, where, you know, Becky Lynch was forced to make lemonade, I should say, out of the lemons they gave her. But whatever. Then you have Seth freaking Rollins defending the World Heavyweight Championship against Shinsuke Nakamura, who turned on him in that tag team match on Raw a few weeks back. And then you have Rhea Ripley defending her championship for the WWE Women's World Championship versus Raquel Rodriguez. I mean, Rhea Ripley has just been on a tear lately, injuring, Liv Morgan, injuring Raquel again. Raquel is going to be out for blood. I don't think we're going to see the normal happy-go-lucky, look at my back muscles Raquel Rodriguez. It's about time that she got serious, and we took her serious. Now we have Rey Mysterio versus Austin Theory in a rematch for the United States Championship. So, a few weeks ago, Austin Theory was scheduled for a United States Championship title defense versus Santos Escobar, but he repeatedly attacked him and caused him to not be cleared. Rey Mysterio steps in and wins the U.S. Championship right away from Austin Theory, and now he's your champion. So this rematch should be interesting. Now you have a feud that's been building for the last few weeks. LA Knight, who is as over with the crowd as anyone can be, versus The Miz. Got to give credit to The Miz. He has always been that guy to make someone look good. And then for the undisputed WWE Tag Team Championships, the Judgment Day of Damian Priest and Finn Balor will be challenging Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. And that match was likely made today because actually Monday Night Raw is airing right now here on Monday evening. And I wanted to make time to get this episode out there before I sat down and watched the replay because of work and all. But yeah, so another packed weekend. You've got Payback this Saturday. You've got All Out on Sunday. I am still very much intrigued on what they're going to do with the All Out main event because, like I said, there's a glaring hole on that card. They're going to really need to add some star power to it. Kenny Omega is great. Him and Takeshita, they've had this match coming for a while. Also, a few other notes from Tony Khan's media scrum. Not only did he confirm the record of 81,035, he also confirmed once again that that All In is returning on August 24th, or August 25th, I should say, 2024. And also, he confirmed that a new pay-per-view, Wrestle Dream, will be happening on Saturday, October 1st, from the Climate Pledge Arena in Seattle. And also, AEW Full Gear, what is likely to be the last pay-per-view of the year, will be coming to us from the Kia Forum in Inglewood, California on Saturday, November 18th. So I will be looking to try to get my hands on tickets for that event to get down there. I try to make it to anything that's in California. And it was also great news today, as a matter of fact, that John Cena has been announced for multiple SmackDown episodes coming up here. They're coming on September 29th to the Golden One Center, and I plan on being there, and John Cena will be there. So that's a nice little bonus. So WrestlingConEsteef is going to take a quick break, but when we come back, I'm going to tell you what I really liked about All In and what I didn't like about All In. So stay tuned for more WrestlingConEsteef.
This weekend, another massive weekend of wrestling action. On Saturday, September 2nd, the superstars of WWE have a few scores to settle and are looking for Payback. WWE Payback, streaming live on Peacock from the PPG Paints Arena in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Seth freaking Rollins, Shinsuke Nakamura for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Raquel Rodriguez, Rhea Ripley for the WWE Women's World Championship. Becky Lynch, Trish Stratus in a steel cage. And the next day, after going all in and putting on the biggest event in wrestling history, AEW is ready to go all out. All Elite Wrestling presents All Out. Live Sunday, September 3rd from the United Center in Chicago, Illinois. For the TNT Championship, Darby Allin versus Luchasaurus. For the TBS Championship, Chris Statlander defends against Ruby Soho. One-on-one, Powerhouse Hobbs versus the Redeemer, Miro. And Kenny Omega finally gets the chance to even his score against his new rival, Konosuke Takeshita. This Sunday, live on pay-per-view and Bleacher Report. Also outside the U.S. on The Zone and Fight TV. And welcome back to WrestlingConEsteef. And a few more notes about All In, and then I'll move on to something else. But a few other observations that came across my mind here. I thought it was interesting that near the beginning they showed Mercedes Moné almost right away. They didn't keep her a surprise or anything like that, but Tony Khan did say she is not cleared to wrestle yet. She is injured. She was seen wearing a boot. But there was speculation that she was going to show up after Saraya won her Women's World Title match, and I still think that's going to be happening at some point. So I'm not going to say it's a given that we'll see Mercedes Moné in AEW, but I would say it's a pretty good indicator. Also, during the All In 0 Hour pre-show, Jeff Jarrett came out and cut a very good anti-UK pro-American heel promo. Said the American fans are better than the UK fans. And then Paul White comes out, but he brings Anthony Ogogo out with him. And it just led me to scratch my head, like, where the hell has that guy been? I almost forgot about him completely. And he must have some type of role within AEW backstage. I don't know. I never bothered to check, but it was definitely interesting to see Anthony Ogogo out there with him. And also with Grado, the wrestler that came out with him as well. I don't know him, but they certainly knew him there in Wembley, and a nice little segment with them, all ganging up on Jeff Jarrett there. And then during the World Tag Team Championship match for Ring of Honor with the Better Than You Bebe versus Aussie Open, there was a really big reaction to the kangaroo kick. I didn't realize that thing was so popular. And then the double clothesline, and then, it was great. They are the new Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions, even though they teased more after after Adam Cole was holding the AEW Championship instead of the Ring of Honor Championship, and it led them to, have a little stare down to build some anticipation for the main event there. And then you had Samoa Joe and CM Punk actually opening the show. Samoa Joe does his famous walkaway spot from CM Punk. I love that spot. It's hilarious the first time I saw it. And then I think it was on TikTok or somewhere. There's a whole compilation of them, of Samoa Joe just walking away from his opponents trying to fly at him. Bullet Club Gold versus the Golden Elite. I gotta say, Juice Robinson is one of my favorite newer guys in AEW. He's funny. He's entertaining. He can wrestle. He's got a bona fide, character. He's during the entrance last night, he was on all fours, growling and, roughing, barking like a dog. It was pretty funny. He had that wild hair at one time, led me think that he could be a modern day, Doc Brown or something. It was pretty cool. And then, Takeshita's entrance, instead of heavy LED graphics, they made this weird biblical type art with him and Don Callis holding these what look like archery bows. I don't know what that was all about. It was interesting. It's a way to highlight Takeshita, but since the man's not cutting promos, there must be a language barrier. He can probably only speak Japanese. But I just thought that was a really funny little thing that they put up on the LED screen on the video wall behind him there. Now, I will say that Takeshita has got all the tools. He looks like a superstar in the making, and it'll be very interesting to see what he and Kenny Omega do at All Out next Sunday in Chicago. Now, the numerous, I don't know if they use a blimp anymore, but the numerous bird's eye shots of the stadium were gorgeous. When the pyros were going off and you see everybody cheering, very nice. That's something. That's a nice little image that AEW can kind of hang their hat on. Almost make a postcard out of it. Now, it was also during this time that, because I mentioned earlier that Hobbs and Miro have already signed their deal for All Out, and I didn't realize they did that contract signing during the All In 0 Hour pre-show. I thought the pre-show was only going to be an hour long, but they were already going at 8 a.m. Pacific time. I didn't tune in until 9 a.m. Pacific time because I was out running errands, and I thought they weren't getting started yet. So much for that. Let's see, Young Bucks FTR. Oh yeah, so FTR was wearing the armbands, I should say, and they had the name of Bray Wyatt, Jay Briscoe, and they had somebody else's name up there as well, Brody Lee. And they were paying tribute to those guys, and once again for those, I don't know why you wouldn't be aware, but Bray Wyatt did pass away last week. I did release a shortened episode about him and Terry Funk, who also passed away. And that was a sad day for all wrestling fans and for his family. And all of my condolences to both of their families, for Terry Funk's family and Bray Wyatt's family. They were two titans of sports entertainment pro wrestling, and they won't be forgotten anytime soon. But other than that, the FTR and the Young Bucks did have a pretty good match. It was a very nice overhead shot when the sun was going down and dusk was settling in. So the next match was Stadium Stampede. I think I gave my thoughts already on that, but I will reiterate that the skewers coming out of Moxley's head was just unreal. It had to be seen to be believed, and if you watch it, you'll probably go, "Oh, well, that's no big deal," But still, it was just the visual of it. I know he's probably been in that exact spot before, but the visual of the skewers sticking out of his head is something I'll never forget. Amongst all the other weapons they used, like a fork, chairs wrapped with barbed wire, all sorts of just insane madness there. Oh, during this match, though, this is something I did not mention earlier. So, Penta El Cero Miedo, he starts the match with a white outfit. Okay, he wears a mask and a wrestling shirt and some pants, and they were base color white. And the match is going on, and I kind of forget about him a little bit. They hadn't shown him for a while. And then all of a sudden, you hear this music on the stage. Everybody's fighting on the stage in front of the LED entrance wall. And Penta comes back out, and he pulls a Superman. He went and changed his outfit from white to red, like in the middle of the match while the match was going on, and came back as his darker alter ego, Penta Oscuro. And similar to Finn Balor's demon, I just thought that was so funny that they played it off that way, that, Penta was coming to, exact a dark revenge. And then Santana, who had been hard at work setting up ladders and tables, Penta Oscuro promptly, sunset flip power bombs him through those tables. So that was a very interesting little spot there. And, but I'd say the one that, despite everything I just described, as crazy as it is, the moment of the match went to Orange Cassidy. He brings in a white plastic bucket, and he breaks a glass or a glass bottle, something like that, and then he wraps his hand with white tape, and he's going full kickboxer here. He's going to coat his taped fist in the broken glass that he just made. And he is stopped before he can use it. I kind of wish he would have gotten to use it on someone, but That was just something for another level that I've never seen. So it's always nice to see something new that you've never seen before. So, and he got the pinfall for his team after about 1,000, orange punches on Claudio. It seemed like he finally got the win in the middle of the ring there. The next match was the coffin match with Darby Allin and Sting versus Christian and Swerve Strickland. And yeah, the rappers, whoever they were that walked Strickland to the ring, they didn't click for me. I enjoy a good rap hip hop performance for somebody opening. In fact, one of my favorite entrances ever was the Lucha Brothers from All Out in 2021 with their Spanish rappers. But this one just didn't do it for me. I thought, he was awkward. He wasn't synced up with the sound, it sounded like. And really, it probably would have been better to just leave it as it was or have Swerve rap himself out, whatever the case may be. But yeah, Sting got to come out, though, to the Seek and Destroy by Metallica. That couldn't have been cheap. So whatever happened there, it worked for him. He was wearing the half Joker, half Crow face paint. And, that was a new look for him. I was not familiar with the Joker version of Sting that actually was in TNA years ago. I did watch him. I remember there was some 5-on-5 match, and then Sting had a 1-on-1 with Hulk Hogan in TNA, so I'll need to go back and revisit that. This is just all going back to what I said earlier, that I have not watched a lot of Impact over the years, and I think it's about time to get caught up on at least the biggest stuff, like maybe the Aces and Aids, the Samoa Joe Kurt Angle, Samoa Joe AJ Styles, a lot of big rivalries there that I just didn't watch. So I'll find the best ones and give that a thorough viewing. The next match was Jericho versus Ospreay. And I mentioned earlier how Jericho had his band playing him and he sang himself to the ring. Will Ospreay comes out and blazoned with, I guess there was a part of his gear that had the name of every single indie promotion that he has wrestled in. So he was giving them a little shout out. Also, congratulations to the Acclaimed, who is the new AEW World Trios Champion, defeating the House of Black. And House of Black coming out wearing white, which was not traditional for them. It kind of made them look a little weird, but that's okay. But they were holding lanterns, and all the house lights were out, and the fireflies came out. So a very neat Bray Wyatt tribute there. It was not lost on the crowd what had happened. It was just weird because, the House of Black, they're wearing these masks. They look like the Sons of the Harpy from Game of Thrones. If you've ever seen what the Sons of the Harpy look like. If you do look it up, I always recommend anyone to turn on your Safe for Work filter because you never know what's going to pop up when you search Game of Thrones stuff. But yeah, the Sons of the Harpy masks looks like what they were wearing, out to the ring there. Very athletic match, though, because Malachi Black, man, he is a star, and he should have been, I don't know, he should break away into singles eventually. So good for him. And then after the Acclaimed won the Trios Championships, they had a Scissor Me Daddy Ass with 81,000 plus. But now it's time for the main event and the AEW World Title match between MJF, Maxwell Jacob Friedman, and Adam Cole, baby. So Adam Cole comes out, and then MJF comes out with his devil mask on. He's atop this throne that he's used before as part of his entrance. He's being, I don't know, it looks like he's levitating almost toward the ring, but he is being carried. And there are female, I don't know, I guess we could call them worshipers, lining the aisle, bowing to his presence as he passes them in the aisle on the way to the ring. Very interesting stuff, but nothing less than the best for the devil. So the match is about to start. They're kind of circling, and then they go and get these T-shirts from outside the ring. They're Better Than You Baby team T-shirts, and they wear them as a sign of respect and solidarity for each other. And now the match is going on after a double clothesline after a while. The referee, Bryce Remsburg, counts both of their shoulders down for a double pinfall, with the official decision being hailed as a draw. Adam Cole says no way. He grabs the mic and he demands 5 more minutes with MJF. MJF says no. He says they're not just going to go 5 minutes. He says they're going to go till they have a winner in effing Wembley. So MJF really, it looks like he's turning face here, but yeah, he's going to give the crowd what they paid for, and that's a winner to the end. The bell rings, the match restarts, and sudden death begins. Bryce Remsburg gets knocked out again. MJF grabs a chair, and they start they start playing hot potato with the chair while the referee's down. Cole finally decides to take a dive and drops, feigning an attack from MJF with the chair. But MJF is smarter than you, and he knows it. So in order to one-up Adam Cole, he takes the chair and wraps it around his own neck, and then he takes a fall, feigning his own more brutal attack from Adam Cole. After a near fall on Cole, Adam Cole hits a hard German suplex on the apron. Cole nails a Panama Sunrise on the floor, and Adam Cole somehow accidentally hits a Panama Sunrise on the referee too, and he's down again. MJF reaches for his dynamite diamond ring that's stuffed in his trunks, the one that he's used time and time again to put opponents away, illegally of course. But MJF can't bring himself to do it. He will not hurt Adam Cole. And he does not take advantage, so Roderick Strong comes in out of nowhere and low blows MJF. Adam Cole hits a Panama Sunrise yet again on MJF and kicks out after a pin attempt. So Roderick Strong is still at ringside telling him, hey, here's the title belt. You can hit him with it. Talking to Adam Cole saying, hit MJF with that title belt. Cole then changes his mind and throws the belt out of the ring. He tells Roddy to leave. But right as he does that, MJF rolls him up, gets the 3 count, wins the match, I should say, retains the AEW World Championship. Adam Cole is dejected. He is just broken up while MJF is the champion still. MJF tries to cheer him up. He reminds them that they just won the Ring of Honor World Tag Team titles earlier in the night, and he goes and gets the title belts, gives one to Adam Cole, but Adam Cole is not hearing it. He throws the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championship belt out of the ring, and he is pissed. But then MJF becomes furious at this, calls him a fake piece of shit, and that in all the time, all he cared about was the World Championship. MJF turns his back to Adam Cole, and Roddy is screaming at Cole to hit MJF with the belt, but Cole won't do it. So Cole looks at him, says, I'm sorry, and he embraces with MJF emotionally. A proper celebration ensues with confetti, while Mike Bennett and Matt Taven of the Kingdom, they're comforting Roderick Strong on the outside, while his former best friend, Adam Cole, is celebrating with his seeming arch-frenemy, MJF. And then Excalibur announces that All In is back in London at Wembley again next year, and Fiend. That's the end of the match. That's the end of the show. All In 2023, is in the books. And, so now on to All Out. We'll be back in just a second with more WrestlingConEsteef, where we're going to talk about how modern pay-per-view events and premium live events just don't have enough build time anymore. Stay tuned. And we're back with more WrestlingConEsteef. And, after watching All In this weekend and seeing that All Out is right behind it, and now we have Payback from WWE, I am noticing a trend that I am not in favor of. And it's not even something that I noticed new recently. It's kind of been in the back of my mind for a while now. And that's the fact that these events simply don't have enough time with enough matches built into them. It's become normal now where events are booked, however long in advance, but we don't start seeing matches announced until sometimes almost 3 weeks out. And that's just not enough time to build a proper story there. The card for All In, as good as it was, should have had a little more build up. Payback has had a pretty slow build, but they're going with it. They've got the Shinsuke, Seth freaking Rollins story. They've got the Raquel, Ripley story. They've got, all these stories. They've got the Miz and LA Knight story. So that's not to say WWE doesn't have stories in place, but sometimes the matches just aren't announced, far enough in my liking. One really bad example, or I should say really good example, because it was so bad, was the last pay-per-view premium live event that took place here in Sacramento. Hell in a Cell 2019 here at the Golden One Center in downtown Sacramento. I kid you not, I remember sitting at one of the restaurants right next to the Golden One Center. We're about 3 hours away from showtime. And I remember looking down and going, where are the matches? There were legit only like 3 matches announced. You know, the main event, was the Fiend, Bray Wyatt with Seth Rollins for the Universal Championship inside Hell in a Cell. And this was back when the cell was red. And they also did the match under a red light. One of the stranger experiences I've had as a wrestling fan. But the ending wasn't so much the story of this event, and even though it was still pretty bad. But for me, like half the card wasn't announced until a few hours before. And it just didn't make any sense to me. I mean, like I mentioned, we did have Seth and the Fiend. We did have also Sasha Banks and Becky Lynch inside Hell in a Cell, which was a submission, or it looks like Becky Lynch defeated her by submission. So, that was still good. And then you had also on that card Roman Reigns and, Bryan Danielson now defeating Luke Harper and Eric Rowan, who were, I think they were the Bludgeon Brothers at that time, So it was top heavy kind of a card, but the under matches were they were terrible because they had no build, they had no heat, they had nothing behind them. So not a great effort on WWE's part for Hell in a Cell 2019. And, one of these days, I hope they bring another big event to Sacramento to make up for that because, man, as a fan, that was painful. I'll never forget leaving the Golden One Center that night. I was live streaming. We were all upset at the ending. We were booing, and then with the matches, just a few of them only having been announced beforehand, it was just not fun. So, they haven't done anything like that since that I can remember, but still, you got to have a proper build. Part of the problem is that there are too many premium live events. There's one per month, and that's too much. I think they mean more when they're quarterly, like they used to be. Like even AEW is moving away from the quarterly model now. They went from 4 to 5. Now they've got 6 because they added Forbidden Door. And now this Wrestle Dream event that they're doing, and 7 with All In. So they went from 4 to 5 to 7, in just a couple years there. And they'll probably have one every month before it's all said and done. But either way. So, yeah, they should just give it some more time. Let these rivalries burn. Multi-layered stories if they can. I know you can't do that with every match, with every rivalry, but that's how it's got to feel to me. Well, finally tonight, folks, your second ever WrestlingConEsteef match of the week. We're going to pay tribute to Bray Wyatt. I had a different match of the week in mind before we heard about Bray Wyatt's untimely tragic passing. The match I was going to recommend, because this is the eve of the Payback premium live event, was to watch the main event of the premium live event Payback in 2020, where Roman Reigns was inserted into the Universal title triple threat match with Braun Strowman and The Fiend. But no, we're not going to do our boy Bray like that. He deserves a spotlight to show what his best work was, or some of his best. So the match of the week is the Elimination Chamber 2014, The Wyatt Family, with Bray Wyatt, Eric Rowan, Luke Harper, in a 3-on-3 6-man tag match versus The Shield, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose. They were the 2 hottest factions in WWE at the time, and they were on a collision course. It really just seemed inevitable. When they finally gave us that clash, about 2 months before WrestleMania 30, boy, did they not disappoint. So fire up Peacock, go watch the Elimination Chamber from 2014, The Shield versus the Wyatt family. You won't be disappointed. And rest in peace, Bray Wyatt. And thank you. We'll see you next week on WrestlingConEsteef.
WrestlingConEsteef, WrestlingConEsteef.
The WrestlingConEsteef podcast thanks you for listening.
WrestlingConEsteef.
Lovely.